Opposition leader Jagdeo is standing by his gut feeling and the facts surrounding the discovery that the government hid millions of US dollars in a secret bank account without telling the public or Parliament. He believes that the decision to store the monies outside the consolidated fund is illegal, irregular and risks corruption. Jagdeo will accept no explanation for the government's illegality. He wants the money deposited in the Treasury where it belongs. On Thursday, he also stressed during a press conference that his party has always placed monies in funds covered by the law. The same, he noted, cannot be said for the signing bonus, which was placed in an account outside of the consolidated fund and away from the purview of the Auditor General.
They were said that the Lotto fund shouldn't have been paid. In fact, the money should have been transferred to the consolidated fund. We shouldn't have kept money in the Lotto fund, in GGMC, in the Housing Fund, the Forestry Commission, NFMU. Now, every single one of those agencies had special funds set up by legislation, that is by acts of Parliament. And so they were provided for by the FMAA, because the FMAA says that you can pay money into the consolidated fund, into special accounts created by legislation. So all of those were created by legislation, separate acts of Parliament, GGMC, the Forestry Commission, the Lotto Fund, the NFMU Fund, all created by acts of Parliament. Or the third aspect, you can pay it into a deposit fund.
Jagdeo noted that while his party, when in government, has never put monies where it wasn't covered for by law, the coalition government has done so in less than 3 years. Jagdeo slammed the fact that while his government was criticized for holding monies in some instances outside of the consolidated fund in funds provided for by the law, anti-corruption advocates are now excusing this breach on the part of the APNU-FC government.
So, we never in 23 years did that. In less than 3 years of this government, and they had a big issue with that. That was one of their big campaigns about the money should be transferred over because it could be stolen. Never mind these agencies were audited. In less than 3 years of this government, they have paid 18 million US of revenue into an account not provided for by Constitution or FMA. Totally different situation. And people don't have a problem with that. And they are making this seem as though it's comparable. There's nothing comparable. And that's why people like Anand Gulsaran can't be taken seriously. When he says this is a mistake, this was one, he was in the forefront arguing that the Lotto Fund provided for by law, created by an act of Parliament, the money there should be transferred to the consolidated fund. And now there is a special account that is not provided for by the law, sitting there at the disposal of this government, and he says, oh, it's a mistake. A mistake now. It was corruption under the PPP. And when it's 10 times worse, because it's not provided for by law. So this is quite clear. So all the spin by DPI and the ministers about how this happened before, it never happened before in our history under the PPP. Never. Let's clear that.
While addressing the National Assembly, Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenwich had insisted that no laws were broken. He had referenced the fact that Section 37(2) of the FMAA provides for public monies to be held in extra budgetary funds and deposit funds, that is, until they are credited to the consolidated fund. But Jagdeo pointed out that the FMA Act in fact contradicts Greenwich, who is a former Minister of Finance. Section 42, he argues, mandates that after a deposit fund is established, the minister has to inform the National Assembly of the fund's existence. According to Section 42(2) of the Act, The minister also has to specify the source or sources of the monies in the deposit fund, the purpose or purposes for which the monies may be expended from the deposit fund, the banking arrangements for the deposit fund, and the intended investment strategy for the monies deposited in the deposit fund. The account for the signing bonus was set up at the central bank not by an act of parliament or legislation, but by the request from the Ministry of Finance. The transaction first came to light in a leaked correspondence dated September 20, 2016 and addressed to the governor of the Bank of Guyana. Amidst criticism, government officials have defended the secrecy by saying that the money would be used to pay legal fees in defense of Guyana's sovereignty should its case with Venezuela reach the International Court of Justice. When asked whether he accepted that placing US $18 million outside of the consolidated fund was illegal, President David Granger himself had professed ignorance of anything illegal with the transaction. Jagdeo says this is rubbish. For the Evening News, Michael Young reporting.